a quick update for you, all you supporters of the steps to the discovery of electronuclear collapse. In the last couple of months, you may have seen I have analysed two recent papers, one from the European funded team and also one from Dr. Edmund Storms. I've interacted with both. Dr. Edmund Storms was far more positive to discussion, and it's amazing just how brilliant the work of Matsumoto, even the most early work, was, and his insights. And it's been a real pleasure to be able to deeply look at every word he's been saying and do the layout for these papers, because I'm really starting to get inside his mind, and it's very brilliant work. Anyway, I couldn't help myself. I wanted to make a little video about this paper here, cold fusion experiments with ordinary water and thin nickel foil. On the left, we've got the original 1-to-1 copy of the 200 print run that he originally printed himself, that I had already released. And on the right, we've got the version of the paper that I've been working on this week. And it's really rather awesome, because if we go through this, firstly, he's saying here that after you adjust for room temperature, depending on the type of anode compared to the reference, you're seeing excess heat in this nickel experiment, nickel foil experiment, of around about 40% against control. But the beauty comes, and I'm going to do a much more detailed presentation of this possibly next week, that we now have far superior images, color images. And it's interesting because in the text he refers to the fact that these are colorful things that occur on the nickel plate, but you don't see them. But here you do. And so not only are they very much clearer what's going on, you can see the actual substructures within them. And if I go in here, you can see this. You get much more from it than you did in the book, the original book here. So what's going on here, don't really know. But we can see kind of some sort of iridescence going on here. And when it comes to the these Deuteron tracks here, what I've been able to do with the fresh scans of the original material is much better match what you see in the scan rather than this. And so this was from the book. It was then scanned, and it's so many generations, whereas this is a direct scan from the negative, and then just tonal adjusted so that it looks great on the page. So you can see all kinds of extra detail. So in this one, for instance, it's just pretty much a black line. But if you go in here with these Deuteron tracks, you see this kind of wiggle going on. Always got these kind of wiggles going on with these Deuteron tracks, whereas they're kind of basically a straight line over here. So that's pretty exciting. And here we go. Here's the split track there. But it's the detail in this paper is extraordinary when you compare it to what you actually see under the imagery. And he talks about these as being colourful explosions on the backside of the nickel foil from gravity decay products of single and di neutrons. And he says they're colourful, but of course there's no colour in this original slide here. Okay? But what I've been able to do is combine a much higher quality version of what he showed in his original paper without this big sort of low frequency tonal shift across the image, but also capture the separate color images that he took here. So again, over here as well, maintaining all the correct relative scalings and so forth. So yeah, you can see a lot more detail in the kind of boundary area here, okay, than you can see in here. And of course the color. So he's talking about the color. You couldn't see the color. Now you can see the color. Okay, and when it comes to these tile map images, I've been able to, with modern technology, and I've made sure there's no AI involved in all of these different images. No AI. What you get is what is on the imaging that he took. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to optimize the things that he was trying to show and maximize the use of the page. Now, a couple of things with the original document is that, for instance, where you've got the wide gutter here for the inside of the page, that wasn't present in the correct way on the original one. So this is actually, for instance, an even page. So this is on the back side, yet this is on the inside gutter, and you can see the gutter's too small here. It's because it came from a reprint from Fusion Technology Journal, but now we've got the wide gutter on the right and the narrow gutter on the outside, and the title or shortened title of the paper and the author is up there in the correct place. So you can see it's on the right hand side with the wide gutter here, and on the left hand side with the wide gutter here. So this is for the odd pages. So this first one you'll be presented with, and therefore it'll actually be easier to read when it's in the book. So this is all improvements. But when you are looking at these tiled images, of course, he had to overlay the images and stick them together. There is a certain charm to it, but it doesn't really capture the continuity across frames, and sometimes they're misaligned. And so you can see here, for instance, in this area here, it's a much better tonal match than it is here. And he had to make a decision as to what went on top and what went on underneath. And of course, using Photoshop, I can make sure that the high frequency data, the detail part, is on top in here from this particular image, so this particular photo. But sometimes what he's doing is when he's taking these images, he's moving across the sample, and he's changing his focus or the actual samples at a slight angle. So some things are slightly out of the different focal plane. So this is actually in a different focal plane to this. And so if you do it like he's had to do with this one on top, you lose some of the detail in the structure here. And of course he has this vignetting going on. It's light in the corner, and we can get rid of the vignetting. And it's the vignetting that's caused by the lens and also where the light source is. So you get a low frequency change of illumination across the sample, depending on where the light or the SEM or whatever source is, in combination with vignetting from lens on the microscopy. Okay. So much more detail in the places that there needs to be. But when it comes down to here, this particular here, he actually talks about this one, which is an explosion of a quad neutron, he calls it, in the actual emulsion, and he calls this Newton rings, I think it's called, and it's actually where you have light coming in, and it's a refractive effect that you get based on this being a spherical structure over a flat structure. And of course he talks about these beautiful color rings, but you just absolutely can't see them in the original here. It's just not there. Moreover, he took several, he liked this so much that he took several different focal depths. So what I've been able to do here is I've been able to do not just put it in color, but also do the stack focusing. He didn't have multiple focal depths for this top section, but I've been able to blend it so that we don't necessarily get this hard line here. But anyway, you can see what he was seeing himself rather than here, which is you just don't see these wonderful Newton rings, colorful Newton rings as he describes it. And again, in this one here, when I was looking at the original book, and this is in the original book and in the one-to-one copy, he says gravity decay products with strings. And honestly, in the printed version, I couldn't see what he was talking about with the strings. But now, look, what we can see. We can see these beautiful things which are string-like. And the amazing thing about these is that these are about 1 micron, this magic 1 micron type diameter. And we're going to have a look at something else in a few seconds, which is absolutely spectacular. Okay, so yeah. Now, again, color here. One is with one transmitted and one's reflected light. So I think this is reflected, this is transmitted. It's the actual same feature. And then over on the right here, he's got micro explosions by multiple neutrons, micro explosion. Now, in this particular image, again, in the version of the book that the original version and in the one-to-one copy, you can barely make out the features of this structure. It's almost not visible when it's printed. But here we can clearly see, and because I've been able to access the original photos, I've been able to capture the bottom of the circle of the feature here, which was never in the original book, and so forth, and align it better. And you can really get a better idea of what's going on. Okay. Now, this is beautiful because this is the, he calls it the Hawking radiation from a black hole. And, of course, S.V. Adamenko observed something similar. But he is essentially saying that this is proof of cold fusion in ordinary water, because he observed this structure. And I didn't realize, actually, I thought they were the same one years ago. But actually, this is from, here is from light water fusion. And so this proving, therefore, that you've got fusion in light water. Now, one could argue that there's a very small percentage of deuterium oxide in in normal light water. Anyway, be that as it may, he's arguing that this is from fusion of protons. Okay, and again, much more visibility between, or contrast between, the background and the actual Hawking radiation. And also, I was able to take the imagery out to a point where there doesn't seem to be any of these spots from the Hawking radiation, whereas he had to cut it off a little bit closer on the left-hand side here. So overall, more fidelity in the data. Okay, now it gets really interesting in the next couple of slides, because this theme continues where these strings that are coming out of the black holes, where again they really just weren't very visible in the original print book and PDF, but they are much clearer here. In fact, all of the structures are much clearer in this new work. And of course, we saw almost an identical ejection with almost the identical pattern on a John Hutchison sample. So I'm going to revisit that at some point and recompare them. Now we've got this extra fidelity going on, and see how they match up. Again, these 1 micron like filamentary structures that are coming out of the black hole. He's saying that the black hole is down here, and this is actually the ejection from the black hole, rather than stuff going in. It's so effectively this is the white hole action of the black hole. Again, it would be down here, this focal point here, and you can see on this one it's very muddy, whereas here you can clearly see the separation, the background features, these particles coming out, and the sort of filamentary nature to it. So it's been a real pleasure. It's been a lot of work, and to optimize these for print and to optimize them for screen. You can see here much more detail in this section. It's just mostly black here, and can't really see what's going on there. Okay, so moving on, there's quite a few of these things. Okay, let's go down to the next one here. Okay. So again, much more even tone on the background. No banding from scanning. No tonal. Anyway, you get the idea on those. Again, same thing on these. Now, the next ones are really rather lovely because I couldn't see any real detail in this star, and it's very important, the star, because this is an actual cold fusion event when a kind of dineutron comes in and causes an explosion of something in the emulsion. But again, here you can see these wiggly kind of lines here. It just isn't so clear in the original book material. I mean, yes, you can see it's wiggly, but there's no real definition. And you can really get to see some definition in these. Okay. These are much more clearer. Much clearer here. You can really see the crystals on the frost here where you're kind of having to work at it here. Again, more contrast between the frost pattern here and the background. Okay, now the last image, I actually took the liberty of blowing up some sections so that you get the full resolution benefit of the kind of scanning that has been done. And here it is. And first off, I use the extra paper on the page. You can see very, very large tonal variations on here with the type of illumination going on and the photography. Being able to remove all those, again, no AI involved with this. Just low pass those out, that particular floor out. But it is these remarkable chain-like structures here, and also these ring-like structures here. And this looks very much like the work of Dikehouse that I have referred to before, and other work. And so, like I say, I'm going to do a longer presentation, really delving into this extraordinary evidence here, where you can see these really are just like linked chains. Look, so you've got a chain. As this twisted over, it probably is, but they are definitely looking like they are linking into each other. Up here particularly, look at this one there, and then it looks like a link, and then another one, and then a link between here, and then so on. Absolutely extraordinary. And the reason I did something a little bit different on this to the original book, other than rotate it, is I wanted the reader to have in their hand and it's actually quite a large document, this print version here, is when you look at these close up on the links over here, I put a separate scale on here, and this overall scale here is 5 microns, with each of these 1 micron. And you can see that this ring structure has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 9 subsections in here. And there's clearly differentiation between them, but they're approximately around about a micron. When it's in a smooth ring, and it's not quite smooth, you can see it's got a brighter bit there, brighter bit there, brighter bit there. Same here, brighter here, brighter here, brighter here. They sort of, this is tighter. This is kind of spreading out a bit, and it becomes a little bit fatter. But again, with these parts of the links, it's a little bit tighter, but you can still see it's a section here, section here, section here, section here, section here. So it's a link made of substructures, okay? And we've seen this before. I did it in my original Flower of Life presentation. The way the ball lightning is scooping out material from the 15 millimeter cut in copper pipe. But here, in this lower area down here, where what he's calling these itonic hydrogen atoms, droplets, they're kind of spreading out, and they're moving out from being, for instance, rings, and I would imagine this is all carbon mixed in with whatever it is, but they're spreading out from being rings down here to being little kind of broken chains, and then to even being individual little blobs. And when you do the scaling on that, of course, it would turn out that these are basically 1 micron, the same as, or a little over, the same size as the features in the twisted braids on coming out of the torus-like structure on the 15 millimeter ball lightning cut, the same size as the micro ball lightning structures consuming oxygen off the copper and converting it to sulfur in the Amasa gas on a 10 yen coin. And it's the same as the cavitation braided twisted structure going through in an ultra experiment, a very short ultra experiment that was done where it's kind of created these braided structures on the aluminium foil. I think there's something extremely significant about this, and of course this around about a micron figure is the basic exotic vacuum object structure, which is a spherical like object. This work here, for those people who got the original 1-to-1 book, you can barely make out what he's talking about here. But right now, with this new update and your support, you're enabling hopefully the best this possibly can be. So I'm unfortunately a little bit of a perfectionist about this. I recognize that I'm probably it's not going to be done again, and so I need to get this right. So I really want to optimize and make the best thing that it can be, so that it's a real reference document moving into the future. So that's really what I wanted to share with you tonight. This last part of this paper and seeing these structures is quite breathtaking. I never noticed them before, but there they are. And the fact that we can learn so much more from pulling the original material from the past into the present in much, much higher I'm tired. Quality. It's a real honor to do this work. So thank you for your support. And I keep saying this, I do hope to get it into your hands, the preview PDF for you to all do the last kind of proofread on before final commitments are made. Next week it might happen, but I just wanted to get this out to you so you can get an idea of what to expect. So thank you very much for your time, and I will see you soon.